hello again. And right before the interview, what we decide to do, I saw it in your website, there's a little video, 4 minutes and 56 seconds. Who is the Braianom Treysi? So what we're gonna do, we're gonna translate right in Russia. The people gonna know who you are right from you. Not by reading Wikipedia, but the people is gonna know who you are. Basically, I had some questions. My team prepared some questions, and obviously there's some question which I was interested as well. First of all, the question is, very similar question. I mean, you wrote 70 books. I mean, you must have so much information in your head for 70 books. So where it's coming from? I mean, what's your inspiration? What's basically the obviously every single book is a different book, and one of them doesn't look like another. So where did you get all of this information for 70 books?
Well, you can see behind me, this is my office. I read about 3 hours each day. I read when I travel, I read at home. So I continue to fill my mind with new information until it reaches a point where I have enough information to write a book. And then publishers come to me and say, can you write a book for us? Recently, a publisher came to me and said, can you write a book for us on self-discipline? Another publisher came to me and said, can you write a book on how to think better to be more successful in modern business? And I have done hundreds of hours of reading and research on this subject. And then when I learn something new, I teach it to my audiences. I speak about 80 to 100 times or seminars each year. So I design it and I teach it. And then I watch the audience to see if the audience enjoys the ideas. And if the audience says, this is a good idea, then I say, that's a good subject for a book.
I'm sure, because some of the questions they're gonna basically they're gonna be born in the format of the conversation. I'm sure the money is not object for you. I mean, at a certain age, you have plenty. So just why are you doing it?
Well, I love my work. I think you love your work as well. You can tell people who love their work because they are happy all the time. They are happy to go to work. They're happy to think about their work. They're happy to talk about their work, and they're happy to be with other people in the same work. And so that's why I continue to do it.
I mean, honestly, I love to see you smile. You basically nothing. I tell you honestly, when I was in a school, people like you and me, they used to call clowns because, we were smiling all the time. And then once the kids know that we're not clowns, they call us happy. So my question is, next question, very simple, but it's very important because I think personally, this is your expertise. So you're going to be the best person to answer that question. Why? And not that many people are basically being successful, and obviously those people not happy. So the bottom line is, there is a less successful people by far. Why?
Well, I was not successful as a young man. I did not have a good family, and I left school without graduating, and I worked at laboring jobs for a long time. And then I discovered that you can learn anything that you need to learn to be successful. And this revelation, this idea, changed my life, is that I could learn to be successful in selling, which was where I started. And then I could be successful in management, and then I could be successful in many other fields. And the more I learned, the more successful I was. So then I began to teach other people. If you're not happy with your level of success, you can learn anything you need to learn to be more successful. Like when you came to the United States in 1993, you probably did not know what to do, but you learned something, or you spoke to someone and you got an idea.
I was a taxi driver. I've been a taxi driver.
And I worked in a factory, and I worked on a ship, and I worked on a farm. And
so
then
that's what I'm saying. The question is, you're teaching a lot of people.
Yes.
And they come to you basically to learn something from you. So from this point of view, by you teaching a lot of people, what do you think the angle and the edge of those who succeed and those who is basically majority, who never succeed or doesn't succeed for a long time?
Well, 80% of people, and there's a lot of research, 80% of people work in the first year of their job to learn their work, and then they level off like an airplane, and they never improve. And you see, if you were a taxi driver, you see people who have been taxi drivers for 20 years. They never improve. They never read. They never try to do something different. Whereas the top 20% of people are different. They're always learning more things. They're curious. And the top 5% are learning even more. So I have studied the life stories of millionaires and billionaires, and all of them talk about continuous learning, always learning new things. Warren Buffett is one of the most successful, richest men in the world.
You know him personally?
No, I don't. But he spends 6 hours every day studying, reading, learning. He doesn't spend any time online. He does not spend any time on little things. He only works on 2 or 3 things that can contribute the very most money to his company. And then he reads and studies all the time. And this turns out to be the same for most wealthy people. They're always learning new things. Because if you don't continue to learn new things, you level off and then you decline. And so
degradation.
Yeah. So I tell people you have unlimited power. You can learn and accomplish anything you want if you just do these things. And so people do what I tell them to do, and they start to get wonderful results. I was with a man on Friday who I've never met before, and he was going nowhere in his job, selling door to door into the year 2000. And he came to one of my seminars, and it changed his life forever. And by the way, I heard that same story 3 times on Friday from 3 different people.
Oh, I'm sure you've changed the life not only 3 people. I'm sure there's tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of people.
And this man, what I told him was that you can learn to be excellent in your work. And he had never thought about that. So he began to study my materials, almost like a Bible. He became one of out of 108 million salespeople in the world, he got his income up to $2,500,000. He became number 45 in the world 5 years later. And now he has a big, successful business teaching and training other people. He said it was all with this idea. I can learn and learn and learn. So this is the idea that changed my life. And this is the idea I share with other people.
You're saying, which I always say the same, when I came to the States, nobody needs me, understand? So it's a very simple thing, because a lot of times, I'm sure there's millions of people, you get the tons of emails. Oh, I'm trying, I want it and it's not getting there. If let's say there would be 3 keys to success from you, what would be the 1, 2, 3?
Number 1 is to accept responsibility for your life. Everything that happens to you is completely under your control. No one else. You are not a victim. Your past life has nothing to do with your future. So you say the words, I am responsible. That was a turning point when I was 20 years old, when I realized that, and it changed my life forever. I also find over the years that the very best teachers of success say the same thing. Accepting responsibility is the first step. If you don't do that, all leaders accept responsibility. All successful people accept responsibility, because the alternative is you blame other people. It was my family, and I came from the Soviet Union, and life was terrible, and I drove a taxi. No, I am responsible. That's number 1. Number 2 is goals, is to learn how to set goals and to make plans and write them down and work on them every day. That is the miracle of the world, is to set a goal. I am going to do that. I'm going to achieve this. And number 3, continuous learning. Learn what you need to learn to be successful, and never stop. Learning is like eating. It's like bathing. It's something you do all the time. Some people think that you learn when you are young and then you finish school and then from then on you work. No, you learn and learn. And each time you learn something new and practical, you go up the ladder of success. One book, one seminar, one conversation, one article in one magazine can be an eye-opener that can change the direction of your life. And I know because this has happened to me, and it happens to me every year.
Basically, you made a very right point in the previous question. So the next question is going to be following the first question. A lot of times, the people who is around us, they have a very bad negative effect on us. So the question is, how to surround yourself with the right people, who is the right people, and how basically it's to put yourself against those negative people, because most of the time they start, and most of the people, because those people are never succeed, they're negative. Oh, you're never going to make it, blah blah blah. So basically, how to sustain to those people, and how to surround yourself with the good and right people.
Well, I have learned many wonderful ideas over the years, and one idea I learned almost 40 years ago was, do not spend any time with negative people. Do not have them in your life. Do not associate with them. Do not socialize with them. Walk away. And so in my life today, I have no negative people. And in my company, 28 people, everyone is positive. All my business associates and relationships worldwide, like with you, they're all positive relationships. I will not deal with negative people. And it's one of the most important decisions that you make in life, is from this moment forward, I will spend no time with negative people. And it can change your life forever.
Basically, a lot of times, you see, we have a very difficult industry like everybody else. We're trading industry. And in our industry, mathematical expectation is basically negative by far. 95% of the people, they don't succeed. I mean, we'll go a little bit further. First of all, very little question. How much are you familiar with the trading industry or with the stocks or anything else? I mean, in a 1 to 10.
My first big success came after selling different products from office to office and door to door. I began to sell mutual funds and investments. And then
so basically you know a lot about it.
Yes, and I spent hundreds of hours studying stock market investing, mutual fund investing, syndicates, joint ventures, and I would sell percentages, sell parts, or sell mutual funds. So I spent hundreds, thousands of hours knocking on doors and making sales calls. So I know your industry very well. It was where I started.
The question, perfect. That's the beautiful part. It's going to be easier for us to communicate. A lot of our students, they have phobia. Negative thinking, I'm going to the industry where 95% of the people never succeed. I'm going to the industry where the math expectancy against me. I'm going to the industry, what if I'm going to have a problem? What if I'm not going to have enough money? I mean, phobia after phobia after phobia. I'm sure as a young boy or with the people that you are communicating, you basically had the same. Those people, they came to you and said, Brian, help me. I have this kind of phobia, that kind of phobia. So your advice is how to deal with that. I mean, how to fight phobias.
Well, everyone is afraid of failure. The fear of failure is the biggest fear in human life. And the second fear is the fear of rejection, the fear of people being negative, and especially in sales businesses like your business and my business. So what I found is that successful people are successful because they believe that they are going to be successful. A friend of mine did a study, and he studied 500 successful people. And over the years, he spent 10 years on his study to try to find out what was the common idea that these people had. And they could be in finance or business or movie actors or anything. The common idea they had is they absolutely believed that they would be successful. They absolutely believed that they would be successful. They never doubted, even no matter how many times they failed, they just kept coming back because they absolutely believed. And so I have 4 children, and I learned this before I had my first child. And so I taught my children this, is that when you grow up, you're going to be a big success. No matter what happens, you are going to be a big success. You may have many problems and failures, but you are going to be a big success. And all 4 of my children, of course, go through their ups and downs, but they absolutely know, it's like that's programmed into their subconscious mind, that I am going to be a big success someday. And so they're always positive. And no matter how many times they make mistakes or fail, they just keep coming back because they believe that. So each person should say to themselves, I am going to be a big success someday. It is simply a matter of learning what I need to learn and then just continuing to work and work until I achieve success.
So basically, the bottom line is, first of all, we begin from a day one. It's the base for the kids. It's what you put into them since the beginning.
Yes. And you program them. Children are programmed by people who have influence over them. And the greatest influence is the parent. One word from a parent can change a child's thinking about themselves. One word can hurt the child. So you never say anything to your child that you do not want to be true. You never criticize them. My parents were Catholic, and many religions believe in criticism, and that's the way that you raise your children. You punish them and you criticize them and you tell them how wrong or how bad they are. So in my family, with my 4 children, my wife and I agreed is we will never criticize our children. We will never give them negative messages. And our children watched their parents of their friends, and watched their friends, and they were amazed that they never criticized, or they've never been criticized. Now, it's interesting about Russian immigrants to the United States. They succeed at 4 times the rate of the average American. And the reason, especially if you came over in '93, the reason they succeed is because it's so hard to succeed in Russia and the USSR. It is so difficult because there are so many complications. When you come to the US, you're absolutely amazed at all the opportunities that are available to you. And so Russians come over here and they say, this is amazing. And they work hard. And Russians, by the way, are very big readers. They're some of the best readers in the world. They do more reading than television and other things. So Russians have a natural tendency to work hard and to read and to learn. I noticed that your English is excellent. I meet many people.
You give me a compliment. It's not excellent.
Your English is excellent. And I know that there's a direct relationship between language fluency in any country and success. So you came over, and to learn English is much easier than learning Russian, because I have studied Russian now for 5 years and I am still struggling. However, you worked until and learned English. And as you learn English, you go up the ladder of success faster and faster. If I was going to move to Russia to live today, the very first thing I would do is I would learn and become fluent in Russian. And you'll find, you meet people, you do, from Russia who have been in the United States for 20 years, and they can still only speak a little bit of English. And they're...
I'll make a funny joke. You probably will know it, so at least you're going to tell your friends. It's something to remember me. There's a Brighton Beach, as you know, like Russian area in New York. And the 2 Russian guys are staying, and all of a sudden they see the car is passing, and the person is in the car, open the window, and start to ask some questions in English. So between 2 of them, they stay in it, they cannot answer because they don't understand the word of English. And so the guy got angry, closed the window, and run away. So, one said to another, you see, I told you got to learn English. And another one said, what's the big deal? That guy knows English, it did not help him.
Say that again?
That driver, he knew the English, but it didn't help him.
Yeah, that's funny.
I have a provoke question for you.
Yes.
You start with a very good subject, and a lot of our viewers, probably the subject would help them. You said that your parents, they basically raised you in a totally different way. My father, I do understand you 100% because my father was very tough on me, very tough. And I'm totally different to my son. I don't want to speak about myself because a lot of people, they know me. I want to hear it from you. How did you basically come up with the transformation? Because when you grew up and your parents basically criticize you, they give you a hard time and everything else, and then all of a sudden you become a totally different parent to your kids. So my question is, how did you become that, and why did you transform all of your knowledge to become a totally different parent as your parents were to you?
Well, when I finally became successful in sales, which changed my life because I could earn a lot of money. I was earning $10,000 a month 50 years ago. And I went from earning nothing and living on the floor to earning $10,000, $20,000 from sales commissions, selling mutual funds and investments. I began to recruit and train other salespeople. And I developed a system to train them, to teach them to be positive, to be focused, to be hardworking. And I always encouraged them. And then I thought back, and for many years, I was angry about my parents. Many adults are angry about their parents and their childhood all their lives. But then I realized that when I have children, I am going to raise my children the opposite. I'm going to do the opposite to what they did. And that's what I did. And it changed my life, and it changed my relationship with my wife and my children. Is always I treated them the opposite of the way my parents treated me. And then I became grateful to my parents because they taught me all the things not to do. Just like with you and your son, is you decide, I am never going to do this to my son. And so now you have a son who I'm sure is very positive and happy. You have a good marriage, and you think, thank heavens I had a difficult childhood, because without that difficult childhood, I would not have learned these lessons. So I am grateful.
Another case as well, you know, my father, what he gave me, I came to the United States, I had no parents, you understand, I was 22 years old, and I came without mama and papa. And it's a little opposite because my father taught me how to be basically a man from the age of 10, 11 years old, responsibilities and everything else. You know, there's a lot of things I don't like about my son because I put a lot of responsibility on my shoulder. I take away from him. So for him it's easier. But, you know, my father put a lot of pressure and a lot of pain in my shoulders. When I came to the United States, at least, you know, I didn't get lost. You know, I got a job in day number 2. Right away, when everybody say there's no work in the United States, and I said, you know, I open the newspaper and I see there is a bunch of work. So you're absolutely right. You understand, when we get something from our parents, either we try to teach our kids the same way, either the opposite way, but both ways we are grateful because, you know, we got that experience. Yes. You know, like Madonna always said, there's no good or bad publicity, it's a publicity. So it's it's no such a thing as the opportunity. Is there a bad opportunity or good opportunity? Is there opportunity or it's not opportunity?
Yes.
The next question is intuition. Big word. I want to know everything. What do you think about the intuition? How to use it properly? I mean, how much of the percentages you pay to the intuition, and then common sense. So what is the intuition for you?
Well, I have studied this subject. I have written about this subject, and I have taught more than 1 million people this subject in my seminars and workshops. So I know a lot about it. And basically, your intuition is your third way of thinking. You have your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, and you have what is called your super conscious mind. And by the way, I have studied Russian philosophers and metaphysicians and thinkers who are some of the best in the world on this subject. And basically, if you listen to this voice, we call this the inner voice. If you listen to your inner voice, it will always guide you and direct you to make the right decision. almost every problem you have in life is when you do not listen to your inner voice. You ignore it. You have a feeling that you should do something or not do something, and you don't. Now, we find that the richest and most successful people are people who spend a lot of time thinking and listening to this voice, to intuition. One of my friends, Earl Nightingale, one of the great success teachers, said something that I never forgot, and I pass it on to you and to everyone, is that if you listen to your inner voice and you follow your intuition, you will probably never make another mistake in life. And I never forgot that. So whenever you are not sure of which direction to go, you must sit quietly. And this requires the practice of solitude. This requires sitting quietly. No radio, no music, no television, just sitting quietly for a minimum of 26 minutes. This is the study. So I say 30 minutes or more. If you can sit quietly for 30 minutes, you will find that all the problems in your life will start to answer themselves. It's almost like they'll start to become clear. I say that if you have a bucket of water and it has mud or dirt in the water and it's all unclear, then you just sit the bucket down and wait, and all the dirt will settle to the bottom and the water will become clear. When you sit down for 30 minutes, it's the same thing. Is your mind will become clear and you will get answers and ideas that can change your whole life. But most people have never sat still for 30 minutes in their lifetime. Most people have never sat quietly by themselves, away from anyone else, for 30 minutes in their lifetime. And when you do it the first time, it's not like you have to do it several times. The first time you will have
I'm sure there was people from a different kind of industries, but let's take, for example, people from our industry, right? And the industry is stocks, trading, and everything else. Usually when those people come to you, what are they looking from you? I mean, what kind of help, what kind of questions they ask? I mean, particularly people in our industry, because, you know, a lot of people are going to watch our interviews. We have tens of thousands of subscribers, Facebook and so on, YouTube and everything else. They're going to ask the same question. I mean, I'm a trader. I have a problem. I cannot succeed. I don't make money. I need a particular advice from Mr. Tracey. I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch of traders who came to Mr. Tracey and asked for his advice. Usually, what kind of question did they ask, and what did the Mr. Tracey suggest?
Well, I started off in sales, and it's amazing, more than 50% of successful people started off selling something. Because that was the only opportunity that they had. And so when people come to me, they are almost always in sales of some kind. So I teach them how to sell. And how to sell is very simple, is you focus on helping the other person achieve their goals. You explain clearly and intelligently why your product or service is good for them, how they can acquire it, and how you will help them. So instead of trying to earn money, which causes you to be afraid of rejection, is you focus on becoming a helper, and you help other people achieve their goals. So you'll find that all wealthy people are always thinking about helping other people improve their life or work with their product or service. And when you move from focusing on selling, which makes you afraid because you're afraid of failure, to focusing on helping, your whole life changes. People like you more, they trust you more, and you say, look, I am not going to try to sell you anything. I will just show you why this is a good choice for you. And based on the market today, this is really an excellent choice and a better choice than probably any other choice that's available to you now. And let me explain to you why that is. So people realize you're not trying to get their money, you're trying to help them. And they relax and their barriers go down and they're open to you. And even if they don't buy from you, it's always a positive relationship. And if people are negative, I say, just let it go and don't spend any time with negative people. And people are negative.
Mr. Tracy, thank you very much. I'll right now say in Russian about your upcoming seminar, and then I'll come back to you. Дорогие друзья, 10 октября, Брайан Трейси понимает по-русски, сейчас он будет кивать головой.
Спасибо.
10 октября в Санкт-Петербурге пройдет семинар Брайана Трейси, человек, которого знает десятки миллионов, то есть десятки миллионов только на семинарах были, а знает, я думаю, сотни миллионов. Человек, который написал более 70 книг, более 28 языков были переведены его книги, человек, которого, в принципе, реально знает весь мир. Поэтому, дорогие друзья, я думаю, что вы, придя на семинар, сможете получить этот колоссальный заряд энергии от этого энергетически крепкого человека. I just said that you're energetically so strong that, you know, your power, it's coming out from the computer.
Thank you. And I will see my friends in St. Petersburg on October 10th. Please be sure to come to my seminar on October 10th.
Thank you very much, Brian, and all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you.